You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
Welcome to another edition of Believe in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. All right, it's Cowboys week, Carl. Fans are fired up. It's Monday Night Football. Giants fans know about the Monday Night Football history. It has not been pretty, but this is a new year. It's a new time. And there's no Dak Prescott. Although Cooper Rush is 2-0 as a starting quarterback. 2-0 as a starting quarterback. Carl, I stumbled upon a stat. Did you know that the Giants have not scored a first half, not first quarter, first half touchdown in 6 straight games and 8 of their last 9? The last first half touchdown scored by the offense was a Mike Glennon to Eli Penny pass in Los Angeles against the Chargers last year.
Well, that's got to change. You know, you got to, they have to create their own trends. So like when you start to lump them all together, it's just kind of a continuation of ineptitude. But I believe that this offense will figure out how to score. But more importantly, they just need to win games. Facing the Dallas Cowboys will be the biggest step up for them. They will be challenged in ways offensively in terms of their pass protection in ways that they haven't seen yet this year. I mean, Simmons was good for the Texans. Brian Byrne was good for Carolina. I said the Titans, not the Texans. Simmons, Texans. Burns with Carolina, but this pass rush has always been really good in Dallas, right? And they bring it. And this guy, he goes by the name of Micah Parsons, but I call him Micah Problems because he brings many problems to your offensive line, and they're going to have to account for him. But he's just not the only one. So it's going to be interesting to see the type of game plan they come up with. Defensively, they're going to be dealing with 2 different types of running backs. The Zeke that everybody think is washed or not as good as he used to be, but he's still good enough. Like he can touch the ball, and when they spot it, it's a 2nd and 4. So it might not be 1st and 10 every time he gets it, every time they spot it, but he's going to get you 6 or 7 yards. So they've got to contend with that. They've got to contend with a passing game that they've hit some plays on the Giants historically. I want to see how Wink really constructs this defensive pass coverage. I know he's going to bring pressure. So Cooper Rush is going to have to make some decisions with the football quick, and his receivers are going to have to make some quick decisions as well. So it'll be fun, but this will be the Giants' biggest challenge offensively because they collectively, the Dallas Cowboys, they cause problems across your entire offensive line from a one-on-one standpoint, right? So I think this will be a fun one to watch. It's a step up in talent. This challenge will be different.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, is outstanding. And, you look at what they're doing. They're playing to their profile. Even in the Bucs game, Parsons kept getting sacks. He's got 4 already this year and a bunch of hits on the quarterback. They kept that game. The Cowboys just had no offense. And then last week, again, they limited the Bengals. Diggs can make plays. You mentioned Parsons. They got some guys that can fly to the football. I think they have 3 guys on their defense in their careers that have scored defensive touchdowns against the Giants. At least 2 of them. Fumble returns, all kinds of crazy stuff. So ball security is going to be huge as well. Carl, can you run on them? Cincinnati had a hard time running on them. They didn't try to run on them as much as maybe they should. That seems to me like the Giants. One thing I really like about Mike Kafka and Brian Dable and what they're doing offensively, even when it's not looking pretty. Because in the first quarter of the game against Tennessee, and even in the first half last week, Barkley wasn't doing anything, but they kind of stuck with it and probed it and eventually got a run game going, which then sets up pass plays.
Right. So their adjustment, they went from the trap runs where they were pulling a guy and, Carolina was running somebody right in the hip pocket of the guard once he pulled and making tackles in the backfield, to just running gap plays, just hit it and get it. And so I think the one player on their defense, if you can get to him on the second level, Aiden Van Der Esch, you can exploit in the run game, right? He's a runner, he's a hitter, and no disrespect to him, but he can be vulnerable in the run game because he'll sometimes find himself out of position, which isn't uncommon for those guys who like just to run and find the football and hit. So sometimes you can get them out of position, but the Giants will have to run the ball. They can run the ball. It won't be easy, but they got a pretty good running back. And he's in a pretty good place right now. And also, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He was off to a good game before he hurt his ankle against the Dallas Cowboys. So I think it'll be a good matchup. It'll be a fun matchup. It'll be the Giants' toughest game to date. So we'll see how they fare.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys have beaten the Giants 9 of the last 10. The only Giants win in that span was the regular season finale of the 2020 season. Dak was hurt. They were beaten up. That was McCarthy's first year as head coach. Mm-hmm. Carl, I want to talk a little bit about what's going to happen at halftime. But first, I want to let fans know BetOnline is the fastest, easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contests, and events. Find reviews and news for every league: Major League Baseball, the NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for your sports information, live betting, props, and futures. If you go to BetOnline today or use your mobile device, join today and make your first bet. Promo code is BELIEVE, BLEAV 50, and you'll receive 50% welcome bonus in your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game begins. Well, the game will have begun. We'll get to halftime. I'll be down on the field, and 7 go into the Giants' Ring of Honor. The great Jimmy Patton, Kyle Rote, who was such a great teammate that I think 7 players on that team named one of their sons Kyle. That's how much they loved Kyle Rote. He was a receiver, a runner, a flanker. He did it all. Jimmy Patton, one of the great defensive backs of all time. Could make the argument he's a Hall of Famer. Then you got Ronnie Barnes, the longtime trainer, who you know well, Leonard Marshall, Joe Morris, Otis Anderson, Rodney Hampton. Carl, with your name in that Ring of Honor, it's a special position to be in when you think about the 98-year history of this franchise. Let's kind of talk about the emotion that these guys are going to feel on Monday night at halftime.
They're gonna listen. They've meant so much to their teams, this organization, and their teammates. And you think about all the work that they put in to be great players, to be winners. And again, I think the thing that stands out most to me is they're great teammates. Like when you look at the 3 running backs that's going in there, Joe, Otis, and Rodney, and this was literally a case of each one teach one, right? Otis came from the Cardinals. He worked with Joe. Joe worked with him, right? And Rodney comes, he puts Rodney under his wing. But aside from that, they made us better, right? They made the defensive players better. Like if there was something we needed to work on, Otis would be the first one to tell you. Or if we were blitzing and Joe needed to see a certain look, or we needed to see a certain look, he would give it to us, and he would give it to us 100%. And then Rodney the same way. So it was really a family. And then, Leonard Marshall, people often say, well, I was overshadowed by LT. Try playing next to him. your entire career and having your own incredible skill set. And I don't think we've never not given him credit for as good, as good as he was. But you have the Richard Dents of the world that stood out there by themselves and got a lot of credit. But Leonard Marshall, just as good. Um, and he was obviously awesome for our team, a major, major part of all of our success, and a super teammate.
Yeah, you mentioned Otis Anderson. He came in with the Arizona Cardinals and had one of the great rookie seasons of all time. I think he ran for like 1,800 yards as a rookie. And at that point in time, the St. Louis Cardinals were part of the NFC East. Carl, you had to play against this guy twice a year. Now, you came in 84, so and then the Giants traded for him in 86. What was it like playing against him? And then to have him as a teammate, even though in 86, Joe was so dominant. But just talk about playing against Otis and then having him as a teammate.
Otis was tough, man. He was like the harder you hit him, the angrier he got. He ran angry. He was a tough guy, never backed down. But the interesting thing about Otis is I played him twice in the regular season and about 5 or 6 times during the off season because one of my best friends was his teammate, and I used to come and spend a few weeks in St. Louis, and we used to all meet up to play basketball. And he was he was as tough playing basketball as he was on the football field. I don't think we were cool, but like we were never friends. He still looked at me as the enemy when I showed up on the basketball court, but it was all fun. But he was so competitive, man. But just like playing against him oh, it was tough. They got it going. He was hard to deal with, and we were so happy to have him on our team. And the thing is, for a guy who had accomplished as much as he did, he walked through the door as humble as can be and just said, whatever you guys need me to do, I'm here to help you win. He told us right away.
And then obviously in 1990, Hamp is a rookie and he's brilliant. A lot of fans remember the middle to later part of Hampton's career where because he was on some bad teams and he was the workhorse, almost had to change his body type to be more of a power back. But when Rodney Hampton came in 1990, he wasn't just powerful. He was fast, sleek. And then he gets hurt, and Otis comes in, and the rest, as they say, is history. Wins a Super Bowl MVP. What about Ronnie Barnes, man? That's your guy. That's your guy. That's everybody's guy. Anybody who
Ronnie
wore a
is
Giant
everybody's guy.
He is.
Yeah. Ronnie welcomed me in from Michigan State because he has some roots at Michigan State as a trainer. But as a rookie, he took care of me. But his story, there's a different story about Ronnie Barnes for the last 35, 40 years of Giant history. I mean, it's not just what he does for players, but for families, for extended families, for friends of family. He just couldn't be a more caring and professional individual. But what a sense of humor too. Like he and I have some of the funniest jokes that we still share to this day. Um, and he's just an incredible human being.
All right, Carl, just to wrap it up here quickly, and I want to get into this maybe next week a little bit more when we have more time, but the starter brand. You got these throwback games coming up. You've been doing a ton of work.
Baby.
You got some stuff cooked up for London too?
Oof. Woof. Yeah, we'll get into that our next podcast because I got some things to share. I'm going to show you a few things.
You have to make sure you have the product to show it too.
I have the product.
Oh, I
just finished the photo shoot yesterday. And folks, Giants fans,
it's hot.
Yeah, it's incredible.
All right.
It's next level. And yeah, so I will be showing that. Let me do a little slideshow. I had a photo shoot, and it looks incredible.
We
And
got to we'll
yeah.
get our producer Alex to get those photos. We got to, that's what you call a tease in the
Yeah.
broadcast business. We're
Oh,
teasing
it's
the
such a
next.
tease.
All right.
It is such a tease.
How do we wrap this up?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
And for all you Giants fans that don't live in the New York metropolitan area, if you want to go see the halftime ceremony, the Giants social media platforms, I'm sure we'll be streaming it. And you can watch the 7 inducted into the Ring of Honor. So for Carl Banks, I'm Bob Papa. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Thanks for joining us for this edition of Believe in Giants.